One thing you don't see too much on Weekly 50 is photos of food. I know it's kind of trendy right now to do pictures of food. It's huge on Instagram, and it's not uncommon when you're just out in the world to see people pulling out their iPhone, snapping pictures of food, applying a filter, and throwing it up on a social network, Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And that's fine. That's cool. I like that people have fun doing that. I'm not one to say you should or shouldn't do anything as far as photography goes. Do whatever you want. But it's not really my thing, and I'm not really big on taking pictures of food. But last week when I was eating lunch with my son at home, I saw this tiny little grape, and I thought it would make kind of an interesting photo. So I gave it a shot. There was this clump of regular grapes, as you can see, and then there was this tiny one, this runt of the litter, and it looked like a little child who kind of wanted to come play with the big kids. And it might look small, but I thought this small little grape was the most interesting of the bunch. It reminded me of that line from Horton Hears a Who, where he says, "A person's a person, no matter how small." And you could say the same thing for this tiny little grape, too, that a grape is a grape, no matter how small. But maybe I'm just reading a little too much into that. It looked like a cool photo opportunity, so I wanted to give it a try. It was a bit of a challenge for me since I normally don't do food pictures. I moved this plate, this plastic blue plate, over to the window so you could get a little better lighting, and you can kind of see on the left-hand side that one grape has this nice long white streak of light being reflected from the window. And just in general, it had some better lighting over by the window. I didn't do anything special. I just moved the plate about 3 feet to the left here. And I tried a few different angles, and I quickly realized here the same problem as with my July 23rd photo. My 50mm lens is not a macro lens, and I couldn't really get close enough to isolate the small grape how I wanted to. I used a few of the focusing tricks that I learned when I took that July 23rd photo, and if you want to scroll back on the blog to see that one from July 23rd, you'll see that it's actually composed similar to this as well. So there's some similarities between those two photos, and because of what I learned on that one, I was able to use some of that here. Although on this one, I used my D200 instead of my D7100, and it didn't give me quite enough, well, not to say enough, it didn't give me quite the same amount of cropping to really zone in on what I wanted to, but 10 megapixels is more than enough for what I wanted to do here, so it worked fine. And I tried to also pay attention to colors here when I took this photo. I had green grapes, a blue plate, sort of a red/blue colors in the background, and it was a good reminder to pay attention to everything except the subject. We often know what we want to focus on when we take a picture. There's a person or there's an object or something that we think, oh, that'd make a cool photo, and we focus on that thing. But we often forget to focus on whatever else is in the frame also. So what's the background going to be like? What's the foreground going to be like? What about what direction is the light coming in? What colors are we going to use that will draw out the subject? And so that was something I had to think about here. I wanted to isolate that little grape among the rest of the grapes. And so how could I do that if there was just a sea of green grapes? Well, I thought if I positioned myself in such a way that the little grape was visible in contrast to the background, to that dark reddish purplish background, then it would really make it stand out. And I hope it did. And I hope your eye is drawn to that one grape, and then from there kind of drawn outward to the rest of the photo. That was my intention, and I hope it worked. And this the lesson here, since I try and do a lesson on every photo, the lesson here is I don't really like taking pictures of food. I like photos to convey a story, to impart some sort of meaning, and I don't know how to do that with food. And I'm not saying it can't be done, because it certainly can. It's just not really my cup of tea. Get it? Tea, food? Never mind. If photographing food is your thing, more power to you. And I've got a lot to learn when it comes to photographing food, as I found out taking this photo. But one piece of advice that I heard once, and I'm not sure if it works in every circumstance, but someone told me this when it comes to photography. Someone said, find out what you're good at and then do it. As an example, there's a guy named Peter Hurley, and he is a world-class photographer. Just amazing. But he does one thing only, which is headshots. He doesn't do weddings, he doesn't do nature, landscapes, kids, pets, whatever. He just does headshots. So if you want to promote yourself, if you're trying to get a personal portfolio together to show off to like a talent agency, Peter Hurley is your guy. I think he charges like $1,000 for a 1-hour session. And he's got some, if you just Google his name, Peter Hurley, you'll see some of his videos he's got where he explains his techniques. But man, for that $1,000, you get a lot for your money. And he's awesome at doing one thing only, which is headshots. And that, I don't know if that works for everybody. I like to try a variety of things, which is sort of the whole point of this Weekly 50 blog. But in doing a variety of things, I'm not really honing in on one thing and sharpening my skills at just one thing. So you have to find what works for you. But if you like taking pictures of food, then I say go for it. And if you like taking pictures of pets, go for it. And one piece of advice, I'm not going to give this to you because I don't know if I want to follow this advice. But if you are looking to try and up your photography game, maybe try that. Maybe try finding one thing that you really like doing and getting really good at that. And then maybe branching out to more areas of photography. So food isn't my thing. I learned that here, but maybe I'll take some more food pictures just for fun. It is fun to try new things sometimes, which is the whole point of this Weekly 50 blog in the first place. But maybe it's also good to find just one thing and stick with that. All right, you get the point. I'm done rambling. Thanks for listening.